Welcome, low ego action heroes. Whoa, I'm too loud. Okay, let's try that again. Hello, welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, so this is Q&A AMA, Ask Me Anything, live, free coaching, mentoring. I'm here to take any questions you have. Sorry about my voice. I am a little sick, so I've got the Kathleen Turner thing going on. Hello, Ana Lucia. And what else can I tell you? It is Q&A AMA. If you have a question, you can ask it at dcx.to, because if you ask it in the chat, it's going to show up with your name on that. So up to you if you want everybody to see your name with your questions. I don't mind either way. We got one question ahead of time. It actually came in over a week ago. I was off last week on vacation, getting sick. So now I'm back, still sick. So let's put that question up. I don't think we did this one yet. Did we? Here it is. Did we do this one? I can't remember if we did this one. Hello, Joe. Did we do this question last time? I didn't think so. I'm going to have to check. Does this look familiar to anybody? You know, just in case, we might as well answer it also. Maybe it'll help somebody. Meanwhile, I'm going to go back into the YouTube archives and take a look at the last time we went live and see if this one got answered. Let's see. Oh, we had Dr. Nick last time. Yeah, so we probably didn't talk about, we did talk about this. That's right. Dr. Nick and I went on and on and on and on, and then someone asked this question, and it was a good one, and we did address this last time. Yes, I got sick during my vacation. That's why I don't even know if I answered this question, but it was 2 weeks ago, so I remember now. Yeah, and I'm also not wearing my glasses because people said they reflect funny from my ring light. I have a little bit of a cough, but I am here for all of you. So if anybody has any questions they would like answered, yeah, thank you, me too. A little bit better each day. Slept okay last night. Still have a bit of an ugly sounding cough. Not much I can do about that yet. Even when I take the strong stuff from America, doesn't seem to improve it that well. But again, I'm here for you. And of course, while we wait for questions, thanks as always to the people who have joined my Patreon. You can join my Patreon at the free level. You can join it at paid levels. It is just there for everybody to get a little closer to me and have some early access to stuff. I didn't give you too much this summer because I was working on my new book, but I promise to be refocusing on the CXCC world while I start my new world, Life After Tech. So if any of you are thinking about leaving tech, or you have left tech, or you wonder when there won't be a tech job for you anymore, or you want to add some non-tech side work, that is the book for you. And it's got its own everything. So separate YouTube channel, separate Discord. So go to lifeaftertech.info and you'll find links to all the stuff. The book is out and the audiobook is out. That happened at about 1 a.m. my time. I was still awake. And I did record it before I got sick, so it sounds pretty smooth. Joe says, congratulations on the new book. Are there any books you've recently read by other authors you'd recommend? Joe, I think my question there is, do they have to be about work or UX? Because if so, that's probably a no. I generally am not reading business and UX books. I haven't found that many that I like. It's sometimes hard for me to find ones I agree with. And so I can't think of it. Sometimes people go, oh, you should read this person's book about, well, and I go, well, do you think I'll be happy that I read it? And then people go, oh no, you're going to hate it. And I go, yeah, then no thanks. So, there's that. What else am I reading? I was rereading a little bit of my own book last night, and I was like, this is nice. Any and all, I just quit my job. I have so much free time. Okay, so I recommend, of course, Life After Tech. I just read Darren Brown's book, Happy. I listened to the audiobook. Now, I could listen to that man's voice forever. He has the finest voice, but I didn't like the book. So I would have to give it 5 stars for performance and kind of 1 star for content. It was overly intellectual for no really good reasons, and then I felt it wasn't really actionable, and so I didn't recommend. As much as I have become a Darren Brown fan recently, I didn't recommend Happy. Let's open up Kindle on my phone and see what else. Meanwhile, please ask your questions. You can ask them here in the chat or anonymously through dcx.to. There's a link to ask anonymous questions. Let's see, what am I reading? A couple of months ago, I started Mike Nelson's book, and now I don't have my glasses on and I can't even see what these things say. Sorry, you're all gonna have to suffer with my ring light showing up in my glasses. Mike Nelson's Mind Over Matters. I'm about 1/3 through it. I am a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, and so I found out Mike had written a book at some point, and I'd never read it. I think it's from the 90s, maybe. It's very wacky, so I'm stalled in it a little bit, but I have liked some of what I've read. It's just so weird. So if you want weird and silly, and especially if you like Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm looking at some of the other things that are in my Kindle, and these are generally not things I recommend. If you are a fan of Walt Disney World, as I am, read, I think it's called Building a Better Mouse. It's a very plain cover. It has like a black and white photo, and then it's kind of purple violety. I really enjoyed that. Pepe, hi. I know you think you're not a big fan of quant. Correct me if I'm wrong. Could you give some examples where you feel it could be useful? Sure. Let's talk about Pepe's question, and then we'll get back to Joe's second question. Let me just do some copying and pasting so I have a record of the questions. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of quant because I often find that it doesn't give us enough data to take action. We are sometimes left wondering why, or so what, or what does this even mean? 70% of people said thing. What does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? And then people act on it because they've guessed about it, and then it's just a mess. So I don't love quant because I feel like it's sometimes not enough to give us good direction and something actionable. Where can quant be useful? Well, look, there's always reasons to measure something. The question is, what do we then do about it? So it's not that I'm against measuring things. The question is, what does that data mean, and what are we going to do because of it? Sometimes companies like to try to measure customer satisfaction. They send people surveys or scores or NPS or whatever, and then I find that they get mediocre or bad scores, and I say to people, okay, do we know why we're getting these scores? Well, I think it's no. Okay, you're guessing. You don't actually really know. Okay, so that's tough. That means we have to spin up maybe some other research to try to figure out what's really going on here, because now we shouldn't be guessing. So sometimes the quant needs to be augmented by some sort of qualitative research so we understand who, what, where, why, when, how, and the root causes. So NPS generally sucks. The way that the score is calculated is terrible. But the worst thing is that even if people get a bad score, or it's a hint that we're doing something wrong, companies don't act on it. In Customers Know You Suck, I talked about a person, someone sent me from a message board or online community of some sort, where they said, look, our NPS is not good. We know why it's not good, but we don't plan to fix that. So can anybody give us tips on improving NPS without fixing the real problems? So, But ultimately, people also tend to measure things along the funnel. So, for example, how much traffic are you getting to your site? Are people going to the next step? Are they searching for something? Are they, converting, eventually buying something? Like, all of these things are okay to measure. The question is, what do they really mean and what are we doing about them? And that's where I think a lot of companies and teams fall apart. So, that would be something that I would say about quant is you can always measure stuff. You can always run a survey, but what do we really know? And is it evidence and knowledge, or is it opinions, guesses, and assumptions? And then what action are we going to take because of that? And is that action a guess, a hope, or a dream? Or is that action a smart strategic plan? Pepe, does that help you out? Am I going in the right direction on that? Joe says, we used NPS in my previous org. People failed to look at the qual research, which showed business processes were to blame, not the tech. Sure. So you can always have a survey that says people like thingy or people want this other feature. Okay, but if you have a core problem at the company that you are not learning about or diving into or mapping or whatever it is, then maybe you're optimizing and fixing little things here and there, but you might not be putting out that core fire. So great, relevant story from Joe. Let's move over to Joe's question. Let's do a little copy paste. Okay, Joe says, and I'll also check for anonymous questions in a moment. Nope. Okay, none yet. Yes, still none. Okay, swipe. All right, Joe says, how would you handle working with upper leadership who fail to properly advocate for UX and have trouble telling a good story about your projects or your products? Joe, quick question. Is this UX leadership or is this non-UX leadership? Like, are you talking about product, VP of product or CPO? Are you talking about engineering manager? Tell me who you're talking about so I can just get a little bit more context. Ooh. Yeah, Anna Lucy, I'm still hung up on ignoring 7 and 8 scores. It doesn't make any sense. I know, it really doesn't. But whenever I see something like that, I say, okay, someone had a reason to manipulate this. Someone had a reason to manipulate the way NPS is scored so that 9 and 10 have meaning, 0 through 6 have the same meaning, but they don't. Someone who gives you a 6 is noticeably happier than someone who gives you a 0 or 1. So to me, the whole scoring of NPS is a manipulation. Joe says they think they're UX leadership, but they're more product leadership, directors, VP executives. Okay, so this might be, I see a lot of companies doing like head of product and design, and it's someone who has no background in design, but sometimes extensive or respectable background in product, but somehow they're overseeing everything, but they really have no background in UX, and they don't get UX very often, and they're just more driven by product stuff. So this is a common problem. It's the kind of thing that I address in my Customers Know You Suck book. Basically, if they're not advocating for the user, the question would be, what are they advocating for? Because while the conversations I tend to have with these people are, look, we want to achieve business goals. So again, just put your business hat on. This is for you, Joe, or other people, design thinkers. Yeah, well, that's fake UX. Let's see. Pepe says, I partially attended this quant event. People deep dived into statistics, methods, much of them having a PhD. I wonder how enterprises utilize these folks, if at all. Yeah, so quickly back with what Pepe was talking about on quant. You can do those things. I'm not going to tell you not to do those things, but my question is, let's put up my meaningful, actionable, helpful circles. So what? So you ran a bunch of statistics and methods and you took the standard deviation of something and you got a sigma and you got a whatever. Now what? So it's not that I'm against the methods or PhD people or quant. It's like, what are we measuring? Why? And what does it represent? What doesn't it represent? And what are we doing about it? So Joe, So first of all, I try to have conversations with them that are going to sound more like their perspective, because usually those people either don't understand UX and or they just might not care about it that much. They may be under a lot of pressure to deliver something related to business goals. The business probably doesn't have customer focused goals like, raise our NPS score by X because we freaking made people happier. Chances are a lot of what product is being told is business related goals: revenue, conversions, repeat purchases, customer lifetime value, whatever it is. Find out what these people are held accountable for, or at least no one's held accountable, at least supposed to be responsible for. What are they under pressure to deliver? They might be under pressure to deliver more new customers, more conversions, more repeat purchases. Find out what that is. Then the approach that I take is, okay, look, let's say we need to increase our conversion rate. You want more people who are hitting our site or app or system anyway to buy from us. There's two main paths that we can take. We can take a path of trying to push people to do what we want, nudge people to do what we want. We can try to change their behavior and try to make them do what we want. And there's lots of books and models out there that say that that's the way to go. Or we can take the approach of we can try to better understand what they need and what they expect from us, and we can try to build more of what they need and expect from us on the assumption that the closer we come to building something that really works well for them, the more they're going to naturally convert. And my question to you would be, which direction do you want to take here? Because these are different paths that take different amounts of time, that have different ethics associated with them, that have different short and long-term pros and cons. And, that's my strategic question. Would be, do we want to do this from a product-focused way, which is let's just build stuff and see if people like it? Or do we want to do this in a more customer-focused way, which is, hey, chances are we're going to have a better, a more efficient and streamlined path to meeting or exceeding our business goals through making customers happy, through giving them what they need. Hey, product leader, think about your own experiences with a company. Are you happier with the companies that tried to push you to do the things that they wanted to do and nudge you or change your behavior or make you feel addicted? Were you happier with those companies' experiences, or do you tend to be more happy or satisfied or loyal to companies that just seem to really get you and just seem to build the thing that worked for you kind of naturally, where it just made sense? You didn't need much or any customer support, it just worked. And sometimes I try to get them thinking about those things. And if they say, no, we're under pressure to make people buy more, so, we're going to use Teresa Torres's methods, and we're going to use Nir Eyal's methods, and we're going to use all these things, and we just have to push people, and we're just going to do endless A/B testing and optimization until we make people do stuff. Then I can say, okay, that's a way to go, and you can do that. But then let's just make sure we understand that that's not customer-centric, that's not user-obsessed, or it's an unhealthy user obsession. And let's ask ourselves if this matches our company values. If it matches our company values, fine, let's do it. But what if it doesn't match our company values? What if it's not ethical? Should we still do it? So it kind of depends on who you're talking to, what they're motivated by, what they're being held responsible for, or what they're under pressure to deliver. But those are some of the things that I tend to talk to those people about. Let's see what's on the mind of Ana Lucia. Okay, let me do a little copy paste. Sorry, just trying to stitch your two things together. All right, let's see. I wasn't reading what Ana Lucia wrote, so let's take a look. Thanks for your point of view. Yeah, let me know if I didn't answer the right question or if I missed something. You are welcome to ask a follow-up question that we'll take a look at after Ana Lucia's question. And she says, I'm currently having a discussion over on LinkedIn about specifying experience instead of being too broad or generic. They recommend focusing on a niche, but I think it may be too restrictive, and most likely the best would be balancing specifics niche and a broader experience. I can give you my example if it helps. Yeah, certainly. I mean, this sounds like the type of thing that might be unique to whatever this is, because I think there are times when being broader makes sense. There are times when being more specific or niche makes sense. There are times where you want to go somewhere in the middle. But it's really hard for me to say which one is right. So first of all, that depends, because there isn't always one right answer. If this is a new business, a lot of people think, focus first on early adopters. And that can end up making people think, well, then we have to get specific or niche because we have to appeal to the early adopters. But then my question would be, well, who's after the early adopters? After the early adopters, you want more of the bell curve. What do those people need? Is that going to fit into the niche? Are they just a larger audience from the niche, or do they come from a universe that has a different set of needs? This is also where personas were supposed to help us, but usually don't. And that's why I prefer behavioral typologies. So the question would be, who are we going after? What do we know about them and their needs? What do they expect from us? Or if they're going to leave another company to join us or try us, what are they looking for? What's their task? What are they trying to get done? What's working now and what's not, and all the whys. So those are some of the things that I would be asking. Ana Lucia, I know you're probably typing, and I hope your eyes are feeling well. I'm just waiting for a little context. Context, clap, clap, clap. Anyway, if people have questions or follow-up questions, please do. No follow-up. You hit it on the head. Reflecting on your response, the org has no real strategy or values. CX or UX is not a priority, and UX is just an extension of marketing. And that happens. And in that case, you're going to be following more of the advice from this book than customers know you suck. Not because you're going to leave tech, but because there's advice in there that says, even if you want to stay in tech, if you recognize that your company really doesn't want to change and really doesn't care, I give you permission to care just as much, because everybody knows I love change and I want to create change and I want to inspire all of you to create change. But if you're really up against that concrete block of a wall and these people really don't care about users or customers, we don't even have strategy or values, and you feel like you're the only one who sees this or cares or wants to make change, you're probably not going to make change, because if you're the only one, you don't have allies. So it's okay to just put your own oxygen mask on, and if you continue working there, just pocket the money and go do something fun when you're not working. Here, a little SCTV, Monster Chiller Horror Theater. Anybody remember SCTV? Woo, 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 woo. Supposed to be like a bad 3D movie kind of thing. I miss not wearing my glasses. Ooh. Okay, well, we're waiting for context from Ana Lucia, but that was my general answer. Okay, Ana Lucia is writing a big thing. Example given by this person as a good way to present ourselves. Well, okay, hold on. Why are we presenting ourselves? I thought this was when you say I need even more context on your context. Let's see. Example given by this person is a good way to present ourselves. I'm a strategist with 5 years of experience improving accessibility in healthcare platforms. I specialize in designing compliant patient portals at global health organizations. My example. I have a good amount of experience in the healthcare industry, but I think focusing too much on healthcare jobs would be too restrictive. So I tried to generalize my experience in a way to broaden up instead of being focused in the healthcare niche, but I recognize it may not be a good thing. Oh, I answered your question totally wrong. Sorry about that. I thought you meant like, should companies specialize in niches and, or not? Okay, you're talking about us when we're meeting people or networking or interviewing. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. And sorry I'm green on the edges. I have my green screen behind me and it makes me a little green. I haven't figured out how to fix that yet. Would turning this light this way help? Let's see. Less green? A little less green. Let's try that. Less green this way? No, more green. Less green this way. Maybe. Okay, I'll have to play with that. So, Ana Lucia, in the old days, I would have told you, pick whichever one works better for you because companies will want the talent that you bring. In 2024, that is sadly not my answer. Because I am finding, as I mentioned in chapter 2, because I am finding that a lot of companies seem to want someone who checks 100 boxes out of 100, and people want exactly the thing that they want the person who has done this thing at this size company at this stage of growth with this type of cast of characters and so on. In that sense, I think it can be better to be niche because, for example, if I say, hi, I'm Debbie and I have a wealth of experience across finance and e-commerce and SaaS products over the last 204 years and blah, blah, blah. Then I get people say, oh, well, I don't think you spend enough time in banking for us. But that's not the way it worked about 5 or 6 years ago. People would be like, oh, you have some time in banking? Great, you'll be fine. But now it's like, oh, do you have exactly this number of years in this thing? So in that sense, I think that I'm not going to say it's wrong to generalize and say, hi, I'm a UX researcher and I have some healthcare background, but I can work in any of these things. I'm not against that, but I think the more I think it can be good right now to focus your message only because I'm seeing a pattern, and maybe others are seeing something different, but I'm seeing a pattern of, hey, we want exactly this person. We want this person who has done this thing before in this way with this type of team or company. And in that sense, I think being more, am I less green or more green? I think in that sense, being a little specific in places can help. But only nowadays, because this wasn't what it looked like in the olden days. Get off my lawn. Did that make sense? Did that help? Follow-up question? Oh, something's coming in anonymously. Yay, it works. Do. All right, let's see. Oh, I did not press copy correctly. Good night. Copy. Okay, here we go. All right, let's put up another question, but Ana Lucia or Joe or everybody, if you have a follow-up question, let me know. All right, here we go. How do we defend service design or CX design practice when we do not have impact visible or measured by the organization? Again, these are all so many it depends. It's so hard to know without, like, are you at a 2-person startup? Are you at Oracle with 9 zillion people? It's really hard for me to say, oh, hey, this is always the way we do that. I can't say that. I try to adjust my answers for context and the type of company and things like that. So it's not like I always do things the same way and I have a standard answer for all of you. I always hope you come to me because you know I don't do that. So the question is, like to me, this opens a lot of questions. Why aren't these people visible? Somebody hired you, somebody wanted you there, somebody knew we needed service design or CX design. So why aren't these people more visible? Why aren't we measuring some of these things? Why aren't we associating impact with what should be high impact jobs or roles or work? So it's so strange that we always have to defend our work because someone opened a job and hired us. I think I talk about that in both Customers Know You Suck and Life After Tech. Like, it's so surreal that someone opened a job and interviewed all these people and hired us and threw money at us and then acted like, well, what do you do? Why are you here? Why do we need you? You know, defend yourself, explain why you're here. And it's just so strange. Like, well, you opened the job, you know, you should know why I'm here. You should be welcoming me. So I think I have too many questions here for me to give this a good answer. If you want to pursue this further, you might want to do some private coaching with me. The first one is free. So if you haven't had a private coaching with me before, this won't cost you anything. If you have, it does cost you something. You can find a link to coaching at dcx.to. Fun side note, I am going to be going into a coaching course to become a certified coach, hopefully next year. So I am upskilling as well. So yeah, without more context on this, and you can certainly send in another message if you'd like, it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, this is exactly how you change this. There's a lot that needs to change here because you're not visible, no one's measuring impact. There's a lot going wrong here, so I can't be like, oh yeah, if you just do this, you'll be fine. There's a lot that's broken here. Hello. This is Q&A AMA. You are welcome to ask me any question. It is no charge. Ana Lucia, I understand that, but isn't that restricting a person? Healthcare still seems to be somewhat resistant to change, and UX is trying to grow in that industry. So I was thinking of applying to things outside of healthcare, but it's hard to do in a flexible way. Again, I'm not going to tell you to not apply to things. I am going to tell you that right now companies seem to want these very niche, narrow people. We want the person who has done exactly this at a company our size, at a company at our stage, with a team of this size, with a company facing these problems. And if you don't have exactly that, they're like, we'll find the person who does. Because I'm getting rejected from things I used to be completely hired for. So Ana Lucia, I can't say that there's one right or wrong way to do it. You can do both. You can apply to healthcare jobs and focus in on your specialty and background there. And you can apply to non-healthcare jobs and try to say that you have transferable skills. But I'm seeing companies caring less than they used to about the transferable skills and expecting more that you have done exactly this. Joe says, when I was an analyst, we followed standards and specifications for artifacts. Do you think UX would benefit from some sort of standard or overarching body for specifications for research processes? Let's put that one up. Okay, so super interesting question. Thank you, Joe. So first of all, there's nothing wrong with more standards and specifications and standardizing things and things and best practices and things like that. I think there's nothing wrong with that. My concern about that, though I do have concerns, so pros and cons. My concern has primarily been who will do that. Because people say, oh yeah, we want standards and specifications and whatever. You're saying research processes, but sometimes people ask me this about design. So let's imagine your question could be about design or research, artifacts, processes, steps, tools, whatever. So my concern tends to be, who's going to make that? What if it's made by someone who's not that great at research? What if a research newbie makes it? What if someone who's pro-democratization, what if they make the standards? What if it's someone who's not really a researcher? He who unravels. Do you want that person making the standards? So I think the first question is, who's the people making the standards? Second of all, I would have to ask, and this is going to be a tough love question because this question is going to hurt a little bit, so please excuse me. What problem does it solve? Because while on paper I'm for this, when I think about every problem people have at their jobs that people have told me about privately and publicly and on this show that I've been doing now for almost 5 years, does this solve those problems? Is UX having a problem that because we do not have clear standards or specifications for research, artifacts, or documentation or processes? I'd probably say no. I'd probably say if I had to document stuff or fix stuff or change stuff, sure, there's a list of stuff that we could improve, and I'm not against documentations and standards and processes. I went over that in Customers Know You Suck towards the end in part 4. So I'm not against these things, but who would do that and why? And which of our problems would it solve? Think about the questions you've asked me today. That doesn't solve Ana Lucia's problem. It doesn't solve your question about product people who just don't care about the customer. Might not help Pepe in the quant adventure. Got a new question from Pepe. Okay. Oh, I'm sleepy. Okay, Pepe says, have you noticed that anxiety prevents some people from diving into UX research, conducting interviews, doing usability tests? Oh, and Ana Lucia says, I was wondering that, Debbie. I would say Joe is seeing there's too much variability and a lack of standards in research. Are these taught in university? Not necessarily. Joe says, BPMN analysis is governed by a non-profit. Yeah, exactly. That I'm just afraid, like, what if Jared Spool makes everything? Do not want. What if Ari Zelmanoff makes the standards? Do not want. Just to name some names. So I think it really depends. So Joe, I'm not against it, but I want to make sure we're solving problems here. Pepe, Ana Lucia, aren't these taught in university? You'd be surprised, not always. Pepe, have you noticed that anxiety prevents people from diving into UXR? There's actually a story about that in my Life After Tech book. Yes. And in some cases, it will keep people out of research completely. If it is an anxiety or social anxiety that they cannot get past, and some people won't be able to get past it, and some will be able to improve it. So that's going to be very personal. But I would say, yes, this type of thing can keep people from doing UX research. Not everybody wants to talk to a lot of strangers, even one-on-one. Not everybody wants to write all those reports and present those reports to stakeholders and take questions on those reports. That's a lot more meetings and group dialogues and being in the spotlight. So yeah, there are some people who I think will stay out of research because of we could call it a disability, diagnosis, condition, or just personality or preferences. Joe says, Ana Lucia, I have my master's, and yes, those standards are taught. We don't all work with properly educated people. And I have seen some master's programs that don't teach it. So Joe obviously went through a good program. I don't know which one, but Joe knows Joe's stuff. I think Joe is female, but I don't remember, so I don't want to make any pronoun assumptions there. Pepe, do you have a follow-up question to that? Because it sounds like you're going somewhere with this. I'm looking at an email right now, everybody, that is from a company I don't use much anymore. And the title of the email says, "Our latest features will blow your socks off." So that gives me the expectation of socks blown off. Now, I'm not wearing socks, but that's besides the point. Number one, print wirelessly from our app. Did not care. Number two, text message reminders. I don't know. I mean, these sound okay, but socks not blown off. Joe says, I don't think it's needed one way or another, but I benefited from it greatly as an analyst. It helped with consistency and maintainability. Totally agree. I think it depends on the type of job you end up in. Where you do end up in jobs that are more analytical, data, quant, or some of these other universes, sure, they want, I've seen a couple of UX jobs lately that said, we want to see that you have a statistics background, that you know R, and so in that case, yeah, you want to pick that up somewhere, but no, not everybody's learned it, and not everybody's using it, so it depends. So if we don't have a lot more questions today, I might wrap up a little early because I do have another call coming up and I do want to grab a snack before it. But if people do have questions, of course, I will stay. This show is usually another 15 or so minutes long. So sorry that the gong went off early. I forgot to set it for the right amount of time. Any last questions today? Let me give you a minute since we're delayed 40 seconds. So let me give you a minute or two to put in any last questions or comments that you have. And again, don't forget to be part of the CXCC community. We've got Slack and Discord and Patreon and courses and coaching and events calendar. There's so much stuff for you to be a part of. And I'm spinning off a separate Life After Tech community for people who want to talk about non-tech work or career change. So check that out at lifeaftertech.info. Nah, just wondering, what do you have coming up? Do you mean like right now? I have a phone call in 45 minutes and I'm hungry. Otherwise, I don't have that much coming up. I am still currently not employed, though I have some interesting possible coaching clients. I'm just focusing a little bit more on coaching. I'll be going back to school. All right, then I think I might wrap up for today. Remember, if you send in a question between now and our next show next Tuesday, because we do this every Tuesday, I will hold on to your question, and your question will be answered in the order that I get them. Your call is very important to me. So please keep those questions coming, and remember, you can use the anonymous question tool at dcx.to to send in your questions any time of day or night, and I add them to the list when I'm awake, and your questions will be answered first next week. So that is it for the show. Thanks to the people who joined in live on LinkedIn and YouTube. Remember to please subscribe to the new channel at Your Life After Tech on YouTube. I had to throw your in there. And check out the new book. Thanks, everybody. I will see you very soon. Bye.